In this tutorial, I'll be walking you through the user features section of the Switchvox user portal. We'll start by learning how to set up call rules which determine how and when you receive calls. We'll then move on to setting up external contacts, followed by customizing your conference rooms and a few other helpful features you'll want to be familiar with. To follow along, you'll need to log into the Switchvox user portal. Let's get started. So once you're logged in, we'll start by going to the Features tab and clicking on Call Rules. Now, call rules determine when people can call you and at what time, depending on your status, meaning availability, whether you're in the office, away on vacation, and they're set in priorities. You can set up multiple scenarios for different situations. Now, I've got two examples here. The first one is a default do not disturb when I don't want to be disturbed, and the other one is the default standard, which is applicable by default at any time in any status. Let's go over these in a little bit more detail. And to do so, we can hit the modify button here, and let's go to the settings tab. So the rule set name is determined by either us or the system. And this one is default do not disturb. So the time frame is anytime. The alternatives are either customized time frames, or we've got some defaults outside business hours during weekends only. And the rule set status is any do not disturb. So essentially what this rule is saying is at any time in the day, if my status is do not disturb, this rule set will be applicable. Now, if we head over to the Actions tab, we can see that the first action that the system will do while we're in that busy status is decline queue calls immediately. So if we're part of a queue, whether it be sales, support, or any other type of queue, we will not receive calls from the outside callers. The second action is to send the call to voicemail. So anyone that's not part of a queue that does call me during that rule set will go to voicemail. We can edit these as well. For example, what type of call is sent to voicemail, so it could be direct, queue, or all calls. And the number of times to ring the previous rule, which was decline call queues immediately in this particular example. So we can have immediately or after a certain ring duration, and this will be applicable in other situations. And we'll go over setting up our own rule set in a moment. So heading back over to the rule sets, let's check out what's happening with our default standard. So the setting here again is any time of day, and the status is any. So any status that's applicable. It's send to voicemail. So send direct calls to voicemail after 5 rings. So it will ring our soft phone or our desk phone or any phone that we have for 5 rings. Then it will go to voicemail. It's set to direct calls, so we can say queue calls as well or all calls. Normally in a queue environment, you wouldn't necessarily want that because you'll want someone else to pick up calls from the queue rather than somebody calling in to reach your voicemail. So we can extend this certainly if on average we are unable to get to the phone after 10 or 15 rings. You can certainly expand that duration based on your preference and needs. So let's go back to call rules and let's create a rule set. We can call this vacation mode, and it's going to be anytime when I'm on extended away vacation. And now I need to create an action. I'm going to forward my calls, all calls, to another member of my team. And I want that to forward immediately. Doesn't need to ring my phone first. Go straight to Skype. And save action. Now, if I have multiple rules that might conflict with each other, I can move them so that they're prioritized. So in this case, if I'm on vacation, I don't want to have to go through the other rule sets. I want that to take precedence. And you may want to also just prioritize do not disturb, which may be more common than your vacation mode. And then we'll have the direct calls go through after the block call states. If you'd like to customize your busy status rule sets, you can come to this tab here. Currently, when you're in a busy status, the system will use the unanswered call rule sets, which is this tab here. So even when you're on busy, you're going to have, for example, do not disturb or some other status. So if you'd like to create customized ones, just uncheck the yes here. And then we can create our own set of busy status call rules. You can head over to the call blocking rules tab and create a call blocking so we can block either a phone number or an entire prefix. That can be denoted here by a 10-digit number, for example. We want to play a busy signal, congested, hang up, or send to voicemail. Busy signal, fairly obvious what that is here. Congestion will just be as if the call's not going anywhere and would allude to the fact that maybe the number is not actually in service. Then you've got just a straight hang up and of course voicemail. So we have two default audio prompts under message prompts, and these are for the secret code call rule setting, and that can be changed by uploading a new one, basically asking for a password and password incorrect. And just again, if you're curious, if we go over to the actions, it was here. And this is a way to authenticate a caller to go to a next action. Now, if you're not familiar of how to change your status when these would become active, you can do that here from the user portal, where you set your status. You can also do it from your soft phone, should you have it running here on your desktop, and you've got the same statuses here. And in other various phones that work with the Switchvox. Now we can move over to external contacts. Your list of external contacts can be accessed either by your handset, soft phones, and your contact entries. They can also be accessed from the switchboard. Fairly straightforward here. And that's a business line. We've created an external contact. And I should be able to find Mr. Jones here in my contacts list. Right over here, and I can click to call him. Heading over to the conference room submenu, I can customize my conferences and participant behavior, starting with the 5-digit conference room number. These labels are fairly descriptive and easy to follow along with. Play sound when participant leaves or enters, so you have an audible cue when someone pops in and out. And you can also announce their name. Music on hold, whether or not they can press pound and go to an extension, some of the admin rules, and you can add an additional conference administrator. Now, if you'd like a little bit more description on how to use the conference settings, you can just click the help icon here and you'll be able to get that information. So phone features. Here you can customize your desktop handset a little bit further. Now these settings are largely customized by your phone system administrator, so you will need to have permission to edit your own phone settings for these features and options to become active. That would include changing the label on the phone, what the message button does, for example opening visual voicemail, and which voicemail the message button will call. You can also change the idle screen background, this is sort of like a screensaver, the brightness of the display, your ringtones, and if you want automatic call answering via a headset. Here you can set up your distinctive ringtones for certain callers, and you can download a copy and listen to them, or you can also create your own ringtone by choosing a local file from your computer and giving it a name. Here's where the ring rules come in. Say demo, ring type standard, an automatic answer, ring then auto answer so I know somebody's calling, or a visual indication only. Choose your ringtone. And under what condition do I hear that customized ringtone? Let's say here, that can either be a call type, so direct call, queues, internal, external, all calls, which we are customizing the ringtone, so it's usually for something specific. It could be for a particular extension user that calls us, a particular caller ID, using a matched pattern, and a ring hint. That would be groups I'm a part of here, sales or support. I'm going to choose an extension and save that condition. Now I've got a customized ringtone when extension 201 calls me. If you think back to the call rules setup, we use certain times of day to activate call rules. Now those time frames are taken from this particular subtab. You can see here the list of candidates, where's the demo, weekends only, outside the business hours, and during business hours. Now we can look further at what these times are actually entailing by clicking the little magnifying glass on the preview. And we'll see here that this particular rule is a Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And these were set up by the administrator, so we don't have the ability to change or modify. But what we can do is we can create new ones. Giving it a name, create. Choosing our condition, so we're going to start with the date. Is this active for a particular time? It could be a holiday, could be a certain time where I'm on leave for a known duration. I'm going to set that up from here to here. So this must be set up as hour, minute, minute, or hour, minute, minute. I'm just going to do the full day here. And now that time frame will be active here, called custom. You can modify or delete that. And if I'd like to use that, for example, I can go back to call rules in this particular case, and I could actually edit a rule or create a new one and just change that over here to custom. So let's go to status options. Again, looking back at call rules and our availability that we have either from the user portal here or our soft phone, we've got all the usual statuses that we've seen along the way, and we can create a status option that's not from the default system. So we choose a parent, which are the system defaults. So we could say away, and what is the sub status? I'm going to say training. So I'm unavailable, I'm training currently. Now we've added that here. Here's the new status down here, and it should already be synchronized with my phone here, and there it is. Now I can use this back in my call rules as well. Way and training. There it is. So that should get you fairly comfortable with using call rules, when and where you can be called, under what conditions, customizing a little bit of those options in your handset as well. To learn more about the Switchvox features and functionality, join me on the next user training video, and I'll see you there.